Internet, let's talk about the Bikeriders. I'm going to dive right into it. If you are new to this page, I talk about movies, I talk about comics, I give reviews, I give news. Please like, subscribe, hit all those buttons. I want to dive right in.
Thinking of starting a riding club.
The Bikeriders is what I needed from a movie this year. The Bikeriders is a poem. The Bikeriders is a feeling. The Bikeriders is a violent mess, and that is such high praise. If you love movies that are immerse yourself in the life movies, if you love movies that make you feel like you're living in a flavor, if you like movies that make you smell things, if you like movies that put you in a tone, the Bikeriders. This is Almost Famous meets the Hunter S. Thompson Hell's Angels saga. This is Dazed and Confused, but within a biker gang of hyper-violence in the late 60s. This is a movie that puts you in photos that your dad thought were cool on a table that maybe had more beer and cigarettes put out on it than you've ever experienced in your life. It's one of those things that elicits a smell like the peanuts at the bottom of a bar. And these are all compliments, because I wanted a movie that gave me this is an American classic vibes, but didn't try to make it American exceptionalism pandering. This movie doesn't love the story it has to tell, but it loves telling it. It is a hyper-masculine, hyper-violent story from the perspective of a woman enduring it. And I think that is a genius way to make it so there isn't some false narrative of your Jordan Belforts or your Tony Montanas or your Patrick Batemans where the wrong people watch this and go, oh, that's a good thing to do. Oh, that's the right way to live. If you have a Scarface poster up after college and you think that that went well, I got questions. And this movie doesn't shy away from the fact that these characters aren't well, and that the way the world treated them or they treated the world was ever going to be healthy. And I think that is such a refreshing journey to go on a movie like path with characters that feel so real that their flaws are their scars, that the scars are their face. And I love the casting. Like, this movie is unabashedly full of actors that are just acting their eyeballs out, but in these performances that feel like, since they're all at an 11, the whole world's meant to be at an 11. Like, you get Austin Butler fresh off of Dune and Elvis, two very, very different roles. And I think he filmed this in between them, but he's playing this impossibly hyper-sexualized James Dean by way of Leonardo DiCaprio in his heyday, just passion. And they know what they're doing with that. And he doesn't shy away from the hyper-masculine or at moments feminine like energies. And it's so fascinating to watch, especially when that's opposite Jodie Comer, who's doing this very full-bodied accent that separates her from everyone else in a way that, if it was on the hands of a lesser actress, would feel like it was like a Fargo spoof. But that is a sound that reminds you of a certain era. That is a cadence that reminds you of a certain type of person. So you feel immersed into the setting, time and space, as well as the character immediately by Jodie Comer, which is amazing. And then opposite those two, with the continue the third triangle, you've got Tom Hardy, another actor known for his very big swings, especially vocally, especially with accents. And this man is always this feral dog trapped, trying to get out. Like, I love that Tom Hardy is this bundle of emotion. He's always this wound tight fist just trying to be free, because I think Tom Hardy, honestly, like, he always talks about like hard men, and he always plays these hard men, not always, but he often plays these hard men like Charlie Bronson, or even soft men like Stewart in Stewart Life Backward that are trying to escape something. There's this bundled upness that's either rage trying to escape or their own freedom trying to escape. Look at Warrior, look at Legend, look at Tom Hardy, look at Mad Max. And I love that in this case he's trying to figure out what it means to be a man to him while being around all these men. This is a guy who's got leadership responsibilities that is just burdened. Like, the weight of leading is his whole thing, and you see the pain in that, but also the pride in that. This is a movie about men trying to belong. It's about people trying to evolve, but knowing they can't. It's about what it is to try to fit in, but when you don't, making another group of misfits fit in with you. There's just so much seeking in this movie. This is a movie that is a journey in itself, and the movie feels like a journey, which is also exciting because you go through all these different sections, and it's not laid out like 5 years later. But time passes and you only get context to really know how much time passes. So you're on this journey of masculine discovery. You're on this journey of anger. You're on this journey of violence, and you're kind of whipped around in time through it. And you land on these key chapter moments because it is an adaptation of a book, but basically it's an adaptation of photos of a book. So you're hitting these important moments, but you don't know what's going to be important next. You don't know why it's going to be important next. But because of how well it's set up in the first act, you meet all these characters so quickly, and because of how well the supporting characters are cast, you care enough about everyone that anytime something big happens to someone in the cast, you're compelled by it, and it logically makes it, oh, this is where we're going to slow down to catch this moment. And the supporting cast is insane. Michael Shannon could read the dictionary and I would be there opening night. And he, every time he's on screen, is just so funny in his own dark, Kentucky, incredibly, terrifyingly passionate way. And then you've got actors like Bo Knapp, who's always a force. You might not know his name, but you definitely know his face. You've got actors that disappear into their performances like Boyd Holbrook. Boyd Holbrook is so good in this that I knew the moment he was on screen, and I kept forgetting because of how well he immersed himself in this role. Like he disappears into it entirely. Boyd Holbrook, he's been incredible, but this is one of the all-time performances of his. And someone delivering an all-time performance in this is Norman Reedus, who, in a world of these characters that are larger than life, that are myths, he is somehow more than that. He is somehow more insane. He is somehow bigger than all of those. And this whole thing, to be honest, feels like not American folklore, but Americana folklore. And that's what's so beautiful about it, because if you look at our classic American myths, your Tom Sawyers, your Huck Finns, your Paul Bunyans, these larger-than-life masculine ideals or these male role models, it's always these tragic figures that are relatable. And this is Americana folklore, not American folklore, where it's not only the folklore of these characters, but also of the concept itself, of this time in the 60s where, we were coming back from Vietnam and men were trying to figure out what their world was. And when we were leaving the 50s behind and trying to figure out what the next wave of things looked like, what it was to have people that were living on bikes versus guys that were going to college. There's an entire commentary on Pinkos and what it means to be a guy's guy versus a clean-cut guy in this time. And all of that is right on the surface of this movie. I'm trying not to give anything away as far as like the plot, because there is some twists and turns. I wanted this to be a non-spoiler review, but also at the end of the day, this review is meant to be about the tone, because the movie is about the tone. It's a movie about breathing in the atmosphere of the thing it built, and Jeff Nichols does that so well. If you've never seen Mud absolutely captures just atmosphere. It's very Huck Finn, actually. It's also, that is, I would consider American folklore. That is basically what boys want to think adulthood's going to be and what it looks like when that works-ish. And this movie feels like a lot of men's idealized concepts of masculinity and how it isn't as great as one would think it is. This whole movie is so fucking cool. And I use the word cool in every sense of the word. The moment this movie opened, it was cool. Every time there's anything action, even hyper-violence that should make you uncomfortable, it does, but it's still cool. And cool doesn't mean right or good. Cool doesn't mean it's the answer. Cool doesn't mean it's a solution, but fuck, is it cool. And that's so interesting to experience as someone who really values like certain concepts and really values these idealized goals and realizes that I'm drawn to certain things and realize I admire certain personalities or aspire to be like something. Sometimes those things you aspire to be like aren't the healthiest. And so it's a really beautiful commentary on that psychology. It's a really beautiful commentary on what I think a lot of people look back on nostalgically isn't that healthy. And I think it's a really beautiful piece of the American myth tapestry. And I think that American filmmakers leaning into some of the DNA of what American storytelling was is really cool. And I feel like that usually only happens with Westerns. So it's kind of cool to have a Midwestern version and have it be a biker movie. So this was what I wanted it to be. This was Tom Hardy acting his eyeballs out, Austin Butler giving another incredible performance, Jodie Comer, as always, whether it's The Last Duel and it's doing 3 different performances opposite 2 incredible leads, or something like Free Guy where she's keeping up comedically and dramatically in a performance that's the opposite of Last Duel. Both of those last year were insane. In this, she's doing that opposite some of the best character actors and rising leading men and all-time leading men like Tom Hardy. Jodie Comer is so good in this. Michael Shannon's so good in this. All of those actors I listed before. This movie is just acting. And I loved every scene of just seeing 2, 3, 4, 5, but like 2 actors just going at each other like the best theater class you've ever seen, but with passion and love from Jeff Nichols for a book of photos that made me feel like, again, the Hells Angels of Hunter S. Thompson's era. The strange rumblings in Azatlan Hunter S. Thompson was all over this, and I love that era, and I love that world, and I love getting to visit it in a new medium like this movie. So thank you, Jeff Nichols. Thank you, Austin Butler. Thank you, Jodie Comer. Thank you, Tom Hardy. Thank you, everyone that worked in this film. Thank you, Focus Features, for making it. I feel like these kind of movies don't get made anymore, so I'm very appreciative to get to spend 2 hours in it, and I really hope you, dear audience, enjoyed it as much as I did. It is not like many other movies. Almost Famous is a fun time with, there's moments of darkness, absolutely. Dazed and Confused, a fun romp to hang out and just live a day in the life of simplicity. This is not a fun romp, but it is that same immersion and tone of being in a movie to that level. So thank you for making something so bold, Focus, and Jeff Nichols, and thank you for watching this review. Please do leave a comment. Let me know if you liked Bikeriders, if you plan to see Bikeriders. Leave a like if you liked this particular review, and please do subscribe because I'm trying to grow this page as big as I can over the summer and ramp up all sorts of goodness for you guys for the fall. So let's keep growing it. Hit that subscribe. Much love to you all. Bikeriders made me so happy, and I hope it does for you too.